Hello, I'm going to go over question 4, debugging. So here we have a situation where you're a new intern at a food review app company named Belly. You've been assigned to fix some mistakes that the past intern made while writing some important functions related to generating food recommendations. So before, there were a series of functions that take in a dictionary of restaurants with the following structure of, okay, so here we have our structure dictionary. We have the keys are a string and the values are a list. Um, so question A, the first function that you're tasked to fix is one that takes in a dictionary where each key represents a restaurant and each value is a list of that restaurant's ratings. It should output a list where each item is a 2-item list, restaurant average rating. So here's the function. We're going to debug this function. So you guys can go ahead and try to fill in all that apply of question A. I'll give you guys a second and then we'll go through it if you want to pause the video. Okay, so for part A, let's just walk through these options one by one. So replace sum D divided by length D with sum D restaurant divided by length D restaurant. So let's look at what this line is. So this line is right here. So we're getting the average. Here's where we want to get the average rating, right? Because we want to return a list where each item has the restaurant and the average rating of that restaurant. So we know this AVG average variable should equal the average rating. Write that neater. Average rating of restaurant. So what is this line saying right now? So right now, sum D divided by length D. Well, D is a dictionary, right? So this won't actually work. So we definitely do want to change this. Um, so this is going to be correct. And that is because D restaurant will give us the list of values at that key. This will give us rating 1, rating 2, rating 3, etc. So then if we sum the list, we summing all the values in. So that's going to be sum of all your ratings. And then we want to, this once again is going to give us that same rating list. And then the length of it is going to give us the number, right? So the average is just the sum of all the elements divided by the number of elements. So this is going to be number of elements in list. So sum divided by length is going to give you the average. So that one is true. Okay, the next one is replace D with D dot items. So that line is going to be right here. Right here is D. So if we do D dot items instead, what does D dot items actually return us? So D dot items is actually it returns a list of key value pairs. So it will be like key 1, value 1, right? Like whatever those value pairs are, like it's just going to return a list of tuples of each key value pair, etc. Right? So that doesn't really make sense because then for restaurant in the D dot items, well, we don't really have a restaurant value. We have a tuple value. So that one's not going to work. So we can exit that one out. Next we have replace averages dot append restaurant average with averages dot append list restaurant average. Um, so that is this line right here, and this is going to be true. And this we know because of the question, right? So we want, because averages is what we return, right? It should output a list, and each item is a 2-item list. Right now, this is not a 2-item list. Those are just 2 items. So to make it a list, we do need those lines, right? So there we have that. And then Similarly, that makes the last option false, because extend, once again, we want to be adding on a 2-item list for every restaurant, and that last line does not do that, so that's going to be false. Okay, moving on to question B. The next function that you're tasked to fix is one that takes in generated list of restaurants and their average rating and outputs a list sorted from highest to lowest average rating. So here is our function, and ideally this is the behavior that we want. We're taking in a list of lists, and we want to output the lists in order according to rating from highest to lowest. So I'll let you guys take a second to answer it if you want to pause and think about it. Okay, so answering this question, let's just kind of walk through what this function does in an example. So for this given example of restaurant list, our first element is gonna be our list, our 0th element, so that's gonna be this one, right? So first is gonna be our list silver 3.5. And here, let's just walk through these list comprehensions. So this is gonna be L0, right? So this is our L0. We already have that. It's first, and then index 1 is gonna be 3.5. Okay. So E for E in L1 on if E1 is less than or equal to 3.5. So let's deconstruct this. So L1 on is going to be every element in our list besides the first initial element. So for our example, that's going to be the cheese board, 3.5, and artichokes, I'm just going to use A, 4.0, right? So E for E, okay, so for E, so that's going to be element. So we just run through this. So the first element is going to be cheese board. So first we have E is going to be I'm going to use C for cheese board, 3.5. So E1 is going to be 3.5, oh, sorry, I messed up. It's 3. Very sorry. Okay. E1 is going to be 3. So 3 less than 3.5, that is true. So list 1 currently has the full element, right? Because we're E for E. So choose 3. Okay, and then the next E, we're gonna do A. So now E is going to be A 4.0. E1 is now gonna be 4. And then 4 is not less than or equal to 3.5, so that element is not added to this list. So that is our list 1. Okay, then looking at list 2, we actually, this is the same thing as right above it, right? So we have the same list, and going back to this is still 3.5, right? So E1, our first element, E for our first element in our in our list is going to be the cheese board with rating 3. E1, once again, 3. 3 is not greater than 3.5, so we don't add anything to our list. Okay. Moving on to the next element, I'm just iterating through. We have A for E1 is going to be 4. 4 is greater than 3.5, so we will add that element. there. Yeah, so those are list one, list two, and then we return short that we were doing recursion for this question. So returning sort restaurants list one plus first plus sort restaurants list two. So for this example, list one is that single element if length of our list is less than or equal to one. That is true right here. We're just returning the list. So we're just going to return that our cheese board element. Right. First, we had assigned, right, already to, I'm just going to use S, 3.5. And then sort restaurants list two. List two is once again only one element. So here we have A, okay, artichokes. Okay, so here we can see that it ordered it 3.0, 3.5, 4. Well, that's not what our intended output was, right? We wanted artichoke, silver, cheese board. We got cheese board, silver. We got cheese board, silver, artichokes, not artichoke, silver, cheese board. So automatically, our answer to B is we know it's not yes. We know that this does not order our list correctly. And it orders it ascending, right? 3 is less than 3.5, which is less than 4. And did this code error as we walked through it? No, right? Like we were able to walk through it fully. We got our list at the end of it. So it won't error. It'll give us the wrong list. If we, just to take a look at option 4, it's saying that the correction should be that the length is, we should correct our base case for this to be 0, but that won't quite work because then we'll end up erroring here because then if we have a list of length 1 and we do L, so I want to make sure that L's look different than 1. If we do L1 on, but our list is of length 1, this is just going to be empty, right? And then that's not going to give us anything. So we do want our base case to be of if the length of the list is less than or equal to 1. Okay, that's part B. Moving on to part C. Can now assume that sort restaurants results in the correctly ordered list, save memory in the company's database. The manager asks you to modify sort restaurants so that it mutates the list passed in. Okay, do we need to mutate the code further? So is it already mutating? And we can kind of see the answer in our walkthrough if it already mutates. We don't change the original list at all. We never modify L. Well, like we return a new list. We never change what the elements of L are correctly. So this option 1 is going to be wrong. Okay, the next option is yes, but we cannot use recursion because it's not possible to mutate a list using recursion. This is false. You can mutate a list using recursion. Next option, yes, because list slicing creates a copy of the given list and doesn't mutate it directly. This is true. So when we are slicing a list, which is what we're doing right here, this those calls, it creates L, it creates a copy of L without the 0 indice, right? Without that first element. So this is true. Lastly, yes, and we need to use list functions such as append, extend, and pop. That's not necessarily true. So false, like as we can see, like we already know that this one is true. So by virtue of that, we can cancel out the last option. But it is also just false because we don't need to use those functions, right? Like all we really need to do to fix this code is to switch sort restaurants list 1 and sort restaurants list 2 so that the largest numbers in the front. Yeah, okay, so there is question 4. Hopefully that was helpful.